Okay, so we are here to discuss Scrum meeting. So this is the last session's remaining slides that we are going to take over. And what are these? Are like the Scrum meetings. The Scrum meetings are nothing but the meetings that we have discussed. One second, somebody's trying to. Okay, so so we'll take this one by one. So I am going to read this and tell you that what actually we have done this in last session, and I would want to go ahead and discuss the review, the sprint review, which is way important, which is very important for interview questions, and these are full of hard-earned questions asked on sprint review meeting. So let's start with this. So it just says that these three questions alone. So what are these three questions? We are talking about these three questions. The Scrum meeting is nothing but daily Scrum. In daily Scrum, these three questions are asked usually because the daily Scrum is of 15 minutes and we have to quickly finish, and we have to make sure that it does not go around. Can everyone go on mute, please? Thank you. So these three questions has to be asked quickly around the table, and it has the daily Scrum has to complete within 15 minutes of time. And if there are certain things that need to be discussed among the team members, they can discuss after this meeting. So that this meeting's purpose and the time is specific because of this type of framework of handling projects. So this is very specific. So what are these questions are? This is what I have done since last meet. That means last time I have done this much of work. These are the things, these are the obstacles I have faced. That means the obstacles that I have faced should not be again coming in the same sprint.
Finally.
Yeah, can everyone go on mute, please?
I don't have a mute. Let's see.
Okay, I can mute you.
Right, thanks.
No, but then you cannot speak. So you do it yourself.
No, I don't have a mute on my cell phone because I can't get into the computer. That's why. That's why.
Okay, let me mute you. And
right.
if you want to speak, you can have a chat option.
Okay. All right.
Okay?
Fine. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So these three questions are the questions are about obstacles. So those obstacles should not come in the coming sprint. Is why this has been asked, and lastly, this is what I plan to do today. Obviously, everybody wants to know what are you doing in this sprint. So that question is obviously important. And after this daily meeting, if somebody wants to talk with someone else about regarding collaboration, regarding having a difficulty that can be solved with someone's help, that will be discussed after the standalone meeting or standing meeting, what is it called. So getting back to this slide, can someone read out for me? Anyone?
I can read.
Please read.
These three questions allow for complete transparency. Everyone on the team is in the loop, and the answers make people accountable for what they say they will deliver. You want me to read all of them?
Yes, all of them.
The results of this meeting are typically shared with the client. This daily communication makes sure that if something is holding up the team, they can get a response quickly.
That's right. So, so everyone on the team is in the loop. So why they want to be in the loop? Because they are going to collaborate with each other. The collaboration or self-organizing is the word in the sprint, and that's why sprint is the preferred way of doing any project. So they have to do a collaboration and they have to do a self-organization, and for that everyone should be on the same page and the same loop, and then they will decide among themselves who will and take the accountability within themselves, so that the sprint goal has been achieved or can be achieved. And usually this meeting is typically shared with the client. Not typically, they say that this is shared with the client, but in actuality, it is not usually. Why? Only if a client asks what happens in daily Scrum, then only it has been shared. Specifically, if the customer asks for it. Otherwise, it is not shared because they don't have that much of time. And even though if you want them, even for the sprint review meeting, you would not able to get time or a time slot for the customers to come in. So this is how in practical world situations happens. If you go on to a interview and say that, okay, every review meeting, the customer was present, they would catch it, because that is not possible all the time, and in reality it won't happen. So most of the time clients will not be there, so you have to discuss within themselves, or you have the product owner who is representing the client or the customer itself, so you agree with the product owner and get the agreement from the product owner instead of the customer. So that is how you have to make sure that you're talking right sense, or you're giving them a proper experience that you have worked on. Okay, let me admit somebody. Okay. So so they get so they say that the daily communication makes sure that if something is holding up the team. Okay, yeah, because why? Obviously, you know that if somebody is holding up the team, they will get a response quickly, because it's a standing meeting. It has to be a standing meeting because you want to finish it in 15 minutes. So if you are standing, you know that it has to be finished. If you are sitting around, then it will not happen, or there will be a lot of getting comfortable and talking comfortable. All these things will happen. So if it is in person, if the standing meeting is in person, all the persons who are there physically, they will stand and then they will talk. Okay, so that is what it says. The second slide we have gone through. Now this is what the Scrum meeting all about. Know how that you want to know about the Scrum meeting. What I mean, not the Scrum meeting, but the standing meeting or daily Scrum. So the first one is focus on the 3 questions that we have already discussed. All those 3 questions. I mean, if you have a roadblock or if you have an obstacle last time with the same situation, how can we remove it in this sprint? That is what is discussed. That's why it has been asked. The second one is keep the daily Scrum meeting short. Obviously, we want to keep it short. Otherwise, people will go on talking about their experiences, and the purpose of having everyone on the same page will not be there. The short meeting is also for everyone to collaborate. If they are talking in the standing meeting, they would disagree quickly within themselves. So usually it happens whenever there is a meeting, or a sitting meeting. Usually people will come and talk or what they want at their leisure, and in that way they will think of leisure. They will think of giving their work to someone else because they are at leisure. This is a psychology behind stand-up meetings and short meetings. So once you know that it is a short meeting, you will quickly agree upon certain things and then you will start working on. So it had this meeting, the stand-up meeting has to be short. Third is hold a post-meeting discussion. As I already said, if there is a need to discuss further among the team members, they both can discuss after the meeting and have a discussion on how things have to be done, how we can collaborate, how she can help him or he can help her, like that. The kind of discussion will happen post the daily scrum. So the daily scrum has to happen. If there is no restriction of having not having the post meeting discussion, it has to be discussed in front of scrum master, nothing like that. You can discuss among themselves and come up with a solution on your own. So our post meeting discussion happens usually. Then start the scrum meeting on time. Obviously scrum is all about time, saving time, getting things on time. So time management comes into picture when we are talking about Scrum. So what is the best way to show it? The best way to show it is the Scrum Master coming on time. So usually Scrum Master comes 5 minutes at least before the meeting starts. This is how Scrum Master usually makes sure that everyone comes on time, because he is led by example. So fifth is include remote team meetings. So if there are remote people who are trying to dial in, so there will be a phone or some dialing device which they will start in the meeting room, and around that phone the standing meeting usually happens. The sixth is meet at the same time again each day. So why is that? They are saying that it's a regular cadence. So it is usual. There is, if you change the meeting location or the space, the place time to time, then there will be members of team who would look around to the new environment, look around to the new seating arrangements and all, and then by doing so they will spend more time. They will not be attentive. If the place is if the place is same all the time, they won't bother to look around and they will have their full attention in the meeting. So that is what we want. No multitasking. So once you are in a daily scrum, you should not do any other job. You should, I mean, that is a rule in itself. If you are showing that you are doing two works in parallel, that is not useful here. You have to have, everyone have to have their 100% attention in the stand-up meeting. So remain standing. That's what I was talking. So standing keeps everyone focused, obviously. So everyone is standing on their toes and everyone will keep the focus. What is the discussion going on? Who is talking what, and how can I collaborate? How can I get help from anyone else? So these kind of things will happen once you are alert. And when you are standing, you are always alert. So that is why remain standing and strive for continuous improvement. That is the most important aspect of any meeting. Continuous improvement has to happen or has to be a part of any discussion. If there is no improvement of any in any meeting, it is of no use. So how things will be improved in next meeting or in next sprint, that must be discussed here. That is a main agenda or that has to be a part of agenda always. Continuous improvement. How can we improve? If there is nothing to improve, still we have to discuss how we will improve. Still, if everything looks perfect, but still we have to always strive for one step ahead, one step up. Always talk about one step up, so that they get motivated and you would not lose the grip on the perfect doings, on the perfect action that you are already taking up, and making the sprint successful. Okay, anyone has any questions, they can ask right now.
Rahul sir, I got one question.
Sure.
When we say start the meeting at the same time, say if some of the members are not present, still they start the meeting?
Yes, obviously, because it has to be on time, and the member is reprimanded if the member is not on time. So the next time he has to improve himself, herself, and come on time all the time, because it's only 15 minutes of time, and they have to get all the attention of everyone, and the update has to be given. So the customer may ask, or the product owner may ask for some updates that has to come from the person on time, because the discussion of collaboration will happen at that time. So always remember, on time is a priority. So that's why I keep on saying time is of utmost importance when we are talking about Scrum. On
But
time.
then,
Yeah.
But then, say for example, couple people are not there, and whatever they were supposed to update, they will not be giving the details to the team. Then how will rest of the team know that what is remaining, and
So
how should they proceed?
yeah, got it. So if they are not present, so they will have, obviously there is a process called self-organization. So that work will be given to someone else, because already the backlog items are with product owner. So
Got
if they are not present, they will be given to someone else, and they will lose their working.
it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So everyone in the development team helps everyone else. Even the product owner will pull his sleeves and do some coding as well, if if there is a situation coming up. So in that way, everyone knows what is going on, and everyone can do everyone else's work. But if they have, it's not always possible that if a tester's job can be done by a developer, or a developer's job can be done by a tester. It's not always possible, but most of the time they will try to do in such a fashion. They will have a team which is so organized, or which is so self-helping, that they can interchange. If let's say, it's a good question actually, if let's say Scrum Master is absent, or he is fallen ill, what you will do? So in that case, someone from the development team acts as a Scrum Master and runs the show, because he know what Scrum Master do, what things are there. He knows all these things, so he will do his work, because it's self-organizing. They adjust themselves. That is what Scrum means: adapt and adjust. If there is a situation, nothing is moving on, you adapt and adjust. So that's why Scrum has gotten a lot of attention and a lot of importance in the modern days nowadays, because the teams are such act in such a way that even though there are absentees in the team, they will keep on doing their job, and there is no stopping of the work, or there is no back what you can say, no deliverables at the time bound. Again, the time word comes here. They're always time bound. the boundaries are always kept. The boundaries are always kept. If there is one backlog item that was supposed to be, or backlog item in the sense a feature that was supposed to be delivered at the end of sprint and that has not been delivered. So that backlog item will again come to the next sprint. So there is no such thing as, okay, you have failed. While in project management, if I say, if you do not deliver something, then the project becomes fail, the traditional project management. But in the modern sprint environment, the Scrum environment, it is not the way. Even if something which is supposed to be delivered is not delivered, it can go into the next sprint. So there is no failure as such. Okay. So let me, so everyone understood? Should I go ahead?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So let's move on to, I'm not putting up the presentation because I need to check the slides here. That's why. Give me a moment. Sorry, I was talking on mute. So this is the Scrum sprint. What it does is, you already know, the sprint planning happens, and then the implementation happens, and the review and the retrospective. What it says here is there are product backlog items which are the deliverable, the product deliverable divided into manageable items, which can, manageable features, which can be shippable products. So these product backlogs are shippable products. They include shippable products, and those products can further be derailed or further be divided, and then can be part of sprint backlog, which are the same. Now, let me give you an example, because there are a lot of people here which are not from the IT background. Let's say if you are, if you have a dinner menu to be prepared as a task. So if the dinner menu needs to be prepared, so you would have all the items. So the product backlog items would include appetizers, starters, and the main course, and the beverages, and the dessert, all sorts of things. But when you're talking about this, the sprint backlog, you would have the items to be more precise, the items to be prepared, like say rotis, or biryanis, or dal. These kind of things will be there in the sprint backlog, so that you can have a shippable product. I mean, a product will be delivered. Now, this can, there is something called as sprint goal also. Excuse me. The sprint goal might be having make rotis. If there are make rotis, then all the sprint backlog, the sprint goal is make rotis, then sprint backlog will have items like, okay, let's do a paratha, or let's do something naan, or something like that. These kind of things will be there. And the items usually would be like, the items in between would be like measuring the dough, or soaking the dough, or making the dough, and turning out it to be, I mean, make it circular, all such kind of things. So sprint backlog items will have items in their list which can be delivered at once. I'm not able to give a proper example in this scenario, but have everyone understood the essence of what I'm trying to tell, at least? because all because all the examples that I have is in the IT field only. So I just try to pull out an example out of the IT field, but that doesn't suit anyway. So once the sprint backlog items are there, we select which backlog item. Yes, Ritesh.
Sir, can you explain the same example with something related to IT in form of any specific deliverable like
Sure.
banking software or something like that, so it becomes easier for us to understand.
Absolutely, I can do that. So if there is a goal or there is a deliverable to design a website, okay. So design a website we will bifurcate design website into taking up the domain or registering the domain. So one product backlog item. Then second, the development, whether it should be C development, whether it should be front end development, whether it should be back end development, such kind of things. And then database items, which database we have in question. If those databases we have everything related to database, that can be a product backlog. When we are talking about sprint backlog, then we will discuss in more details the items such as if we are developing the website in let's say the front end in Java. If the front end we are developing in Java, so we will create certain modules. Okay, so the left hand side module is one feature, the right hand side module is one feature, the main page will be one feature. Such small items will be discussed in will be taken up as list in sprint backlogs. So you understand what I'm trying to tell?
Yes.
Right. So there are numerous examples we can get. So this is one of the example. So you can divide and subdivide those items until they can be managed in a sprint cycle, manageable in the sprint cycle. The sprint cycle has to be the days of sprint cycle has to be according to what are the backlog items. If there are huge backlog items, the product length is, or the work related to that backlog item is huge, then the sprint duration would be increased to up till 4 weeks. So in that way, what is the sprint duration? In that sense, we will divide and subdivide the sprint backlog items. Okay.
Okay.
So so we go ahead and do the planning, and then implementation means we will do the coding and testing, and every day there will be a daily scrum on what we'll do, what everyone is doing, what they have an obstacle on, and who can help them, and how they should do the next or the current sprint. This is before the sprint starts. So this implementation starts with this cycle. This should be here actually showing, because it is before the daily scrum happens, before the day starts. So this has to be here, or maybe here is also okay, because this cycle is not one day. This is the whole sprint of 14 days or 4 weeks or 3 weeks as such. So this is okay here, daily scrum. So every day the daily scrum happens. We go after the every sprint. So let's say the sprint is on for 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks, there will be a review happening. The review will or may include the client. So what you are showing the client that what we have worked in a sprint, and whether it is acceptable or not, whether it is up to the standard or up to the criteria of accepting the deliverables, which is called as definition of done, which is we're gonna learn in the next slides. And then the most important retrospective. Actually, when there is a review, usually if there is a client present, then this becomes a major event of the sprint. And even though it is informal meeting, it may turn into look like as a formal meeting, because client is present, the customer is present, and to show, usually this is a kind of pizza party, or you order pizza for, because the customer has come. All sorts of things will happen in the review meeting. Drinks will be given, not drinks, the beverages will be given, all these sorts of things, because this is important. We have to make the customer happy, and the customer has to agree upon the deliverables that they want us to go for. Even if there are certain deliverables, certain sprint backlog items that are not completed, the customer has to agree that they can be given, they can be put into the next sprint. And usually they will agree, because it's a small feature item. Usually they will agree. But if customer is pressing that, okay, this feature has to be done in this sprint itself, and there is no what you can say, nobody can say that that item can be pulled into the next sprint, or we cannot have this feature in this sprint. So this kind of condition, the customer will always keep, they have a right to keep it with you. So if there is an item, or if there is a feature, if there is a product increment that needs to be done in this sprint only, the product owner will rush into the Scrum team and asks if do everything so that that feature is finished in this sprint, and all other items are given last priority, because the first priority would be that item which client wants. So usually this will not happen in the review meeting, that he says that, okay, this item I expected and this has not been delivered, because he is already has been in conversation with the product owner and he is talking about, okay, this feature has to be there and this is not. So usually this will not happen. So the review meeting, we're going to discuss about in detail in the review meeting. And so the completed feature will happen, and this is the completed product depiction here. So any questions? Okay. Any questions up till now? So I will take it as no, and let's go forward. So what is sprint in Scrum? So actually this we have done, we have learned about this in the previous session as well, but I will just take it up because we want to start the review meeting quickly, because that's the main point, and this is you can learn it anywhere. The sprint in Scrum is I will just read it out. Time box iteration that you already know of a development cycle. Yes, Rachna. Yes, go ahead, Rachna. You raised hand.
Yes, sir. So, sir, my question is regarding this sprint. What kind of questions they can ask if we are in interview time?
This one.
So what? Yeah, sprint related. What are questions? Yeah, we should know about the question. Yeah, how we have to like what all questions they can ask to us.
So usually they will try to make sure that you have actually worked in the sprint. So how they will ask you, or how they will find out? If you are not using proper wordings, if you are not using situational abnormalities. So we both work, you might might say that, oh, we both work in concurrently and done this work. And in fact, if that work cannot be done concurrently, you will be caught. So such kind of things usually they will ask. But initially, when starting up, they will not ask such questions, unless they have a doubt that, okay, you might not be the person who worked actually in the Scrum, then they will start digging up. So we are going to take a mock interview session. In that, I'm going to spill all the beans on what to talk and what not to talk usually, and how they will catch up. So that is coming up. But till now, you should. So I wanted to tell everyone also. So if there are people who haven't worked in IT field, for those of them, so what I would suggest is, good that you have asked this question. I actually forgot to mention that. So whoever is not worked in IT field, they should do a trick. So what is that trick is, you should create a thought cloud, a dream cloud within yourself. You think of a cloud, and in that cloud, you think of a situation. There is a meeting going on, and you are the part of that meeting, and then apply everything that is happening here, that is been taught you here, and then apply and save that scenario, save that visual memory with you, so that that visual memory can be recalled at the time of interview. Everybody understand what I'm trying to tell? Because if you are trying to get into a questionnaire where people are trying to find out that whether you have actually worked or not in this situation, then you should better have a visual memory, or you should create a visual memory of your own, and then always refer to that visual memory and try to answer the question. So what I would suggest you to start creating that cloud, a mind map, you can say. In that map, you put all the little meetings information, or the tags that that we are discussing, and try to correlate and try to run through your mind. So, and then save those scenarios. You got
Okay.
my point? Huh? So
Yes, sir.
if you do like that, because usually what will happen, if I have done something, if I have gone, let's say you went to Las Vegas, and you come back and you tell everyone what happened and how things are happening. And how can you tell that? Because you are referring to your visual memory. So you can say that out loud quickly and perfectly, because you have that visual memory with you. Similarly, if you create your own visual memory while the training is going on, it would be very helpful, because in the same way, you are actually expressing your experiences of all other things. So try to create a cloud of or a mind map within yourself. So that it is very helpful for you at the time of interview. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
So so let's move on to so okay, we haven't started. So we have gone to, okay, so the second one. So the broken project into small and consistent time interval, that we have already discussed. As short as few days and as long as 4 weeks, we know all that, and can call a sprint goal or project itself due to start and finish date. Okay, what it says is that if there is a sprint goal defined by, who defines the sprint goal? Can anyone answer?
Product owner.
Correct. The product owner defines a sprint goal, And what it says that the sprint goal can be termed as project because the sprint goal will have a start time and will have an end time, will have a finish time. So whatever is in the start and finish boundary can be termed as projects. So it says that the sprint goal can be termed as a project, because can be driven as a project, can be considered as a project. That is what it says. Nothing else. They might ask, interviewer might ask this question jokingly or something, but this is the fact. So let's move on to this. This was today's day, week 3, day 2, and we have to start sprint review with high quality and definition of done. So let's go on to the sprint review meeting. So can someone read the first definition?
Sprint review meeting takes place at the end of each sprint, during which team demonstrates the works that has created a potentially shippable product increment to the stakeholders.
Okay. Which has created potentially shippable product increment. So it is potentially shippable. That means the customer can have that product, or the team can release that product to the customer, or they can have that feature in their original product. And it's a product increment. It's not the whole product. So that's why they have created a potentially shippable product increment. So this is what the sprint review is. It is a crucial event. And who is Vishwa? Okay. So this is a crucial event, and it takes place at end of each sprint, which is a time boxed period, like from 1 to 4 weeks, that as we all know. And during this, a development team works on a set of planned tasks, and they create a potentially shippable product increment. That is what it says. The primary purpose of this sprint review meeting is to inspect and adapt the work that the development team has completed during the sprint. So what it says, inspect and adapt. So it serves as a feedback loop where stakeholders can see the actual progress made by the team and then provide their feedback on the product increment. Why this has this is part of a bigger picture, or they say that this is an important event because here a customer gets to give a feedback. A customer gets to give a feedback in sprint review. That is why it is very important. And they say that the next sprint will happen in this way, or it makes a foundation for the next sprint because of the review of the customer, or the feedback of the customer. So a sprint review is held at the end of each sprint, and they inspect the increment and adapt the product backlog if needed, if there is a need of adapting a product backlog item. So that is what it says. Now, who participate in the sprint review meeting? The sprint review meeting is usually, not always, will have the customer. And once the customer is there, then it kind of becomes a formal, but it is still informal because customer would need a formal closure of the items. So this the sprint review is termed as informal in all Scrum talks. But whenever a client comes, it's better that it becomes a formal meeting. Now, you wouldn't hear these words in books or in any training or the actual theoretical part. But when a question or interviewer asks this question, you should always say that whenever there is a customer involved in the project review or the sprint review, sorry, in the sprint review, the whole meeting turns to be formal, even though it is informal. Okay. Yes, Purbasha, you have raised a question. Yeah.
Will explain who will be involved in the external stakeholder and the internal stakeholders?
Yes, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
So there are the participant of this sprint review meeting is development team, which is the group responsible for delivering the product increment, which includes developers, testers, front-end team and back-end teams, all sorts of such technical people. Then there is a Scrum Master, who is the facilitator of the Scrum process, who ensures that the meeting is conducted as smoothly and as properly as possible. And the product owner, obviously, the person representing the stakeholders. He is the voice of the customer, the stakeholder, voice of the stakeholder. And he is responsible for any customizations requirements from the customer or the stakeholders, and he ensures that the value delivered is maximized by the team. That is what product owner will look for. And now we're talking about stakeholders. Now, if there are two kinds of stakeholders. One is external stakeholders and one is internal stakeholders. So internal stakeholders, you can say management team can be internal stakeholders, or the PMO team can be a stakeholder, or the finance team can be a stakeholder, or the what do you say? Supplier, there will be a supplier team also who takes care of supply and supply chain command. So these kind of things, these kind of people will come into internal stakeholders, while external stakeholders will be like government officials that needs to be included in the product, because this product will affect some of the government norms or some of the environmental or some city standards. So these people may come, or the people from other company who are in collaboration, or let's say if we are using Microsoft product, so some Microsoft official will come to show or to have the license agreed, or if they follow the standards, or if they follow the agreement of the usage of the product, whatever. There can be any sorts of things. So external candidates can be such parties who are interested in the project or in this Scrum. Okay, they can be anything. Somebody has raised a hand, and Uma, do you have a question?
When we say developmental team is involved in sprint review, so you give example like technical team and other people. So business analyst is one of those.
It might be one of those if he is there. Usually business analyst's work will be done by the product owner. But if there is a business analyst, then he will be part of the sprint review as well, because he is part of Scrum team.
So he doesn't have to be there, but if it is there, he's okay.
Yeah, if it is there, it is okay. I mean, if he is there, I mean, there are certain projects where there is no BA required.
Okay.
So they will not have BA at all. So all the work is done by product owner. He gets the information from the customer. He talks to the stakeholders and get the information and create a product backlog item and talk in the sprint review. So there is no question of BA person here. But if there is a huge team or a huge product or the major product lines are involved, then there might be a couple of business analysts that needs to be there so that all the requirements can be gathered properly, or unknown requirements can be dig up from the stakeholder, and those requirements, how they have gathered, what they found out when they contacted stakeholder, what words actually used by the stakeholders, that's what they have got into this kind of requirements, or what situational brainstorming they have done to gather requirements, or this kind of requirements might be there in future. So this kind of the processes or the happenings behind the requirements gathering can be a part of sprint review, because there might be a question here in the sprint review. Some stakeholder might ask, why did you put this requirement here? So there has to be a person to answer that, and the BA, the business analyst, is the right person to answer that. That's why he needs to be here. So who knows what question will be asked in the sprint review. There might be customers asking this question, or there might be product owner itself asking question, or the development team is asking a question, because there might not be space left to add that feature, and how can they ask for this, or there might not be budget for that extra feature, and how they are asking a requirement of that feature, that needs to be discussed. So that's why the BA will be there. Have I answered your question?
Yes, sir. And when we say developmental team, who exactly are in that team?
So developmental team includes coders who write the codes. And like there will be different types of coders. Who knows Java, who knows C++, who knows nowadays a Perl editor or a Python editor, a Python developer, or that's kind of long. There is a long list. Or React developers. The different languages are there, different developers are there. There will be testers also who test the code, and who some of the testers will do regression testing. Some of the testers will do unit testing. Some of the testers do user testing. All these kind of testers will have different tools at their disposal. They will use different testing scenarios. Why they will do the different testing scenarios? Because the product, the software that has been prepared, that has to be tested with different users, with different loadings. I mean, crowded gathering of requests. If there is too many requests at the same time, the software may crash. So that kind of testing has to be done well before the product is released. So that is called as regression testing. So they will send requests, 10,000 requests, and check whether each feature is working or not properly. This is called testing. Then there will be architects also. Then who will have their words or their take on what needs to be included and what not to be included, because some of the experts, we need their feedback or their help in making the sprint successful. So the development team is bunch of all these people who are the core team or the worker team who does the work actually. Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to discuss what development team actually asks, or what the development team presents in the sprint review in the next slide. So let's go. Again, I am not rushing, but we have to finish it. So here, inspect and adapt at working. So, and that we have already discussed. And the agenda for a sprint review meeting. So they will have a short agenda, or this is a short agenda in the sense there can be numerous items in agendas, but usually there will be product increment demo, the actual demo of the feature that has been developed in the sprint. The feature that has been developed in the sprint is called as product increment, isn't it? So the development team demonstrates. Who demonstrates? Development team, because it is their doing. They have worked on the product. So the development team demonstrates the functionality and the feature which is completed during the sprint to the whole team full of stakeholders, customer, and the team members. And the goal of this their presentation is to showcase a potentially shippable product increment. So that is their work. I mean, they have to show, because they know in and out of that product increment. So they will present that product increment to the customer or to the whole team. So the demo helps stakeholders to visualize. Again, there is the word coming as visualize, because visualization of the whole product needs to be achieved. The customer needs to be able to visualize the whole product with the small increment feature. So the development teams does product increment demo, and there will be questions asked during the increment, and that has to be answered by the development team. Then the agenda is review of sprint goals. So the team and the product owner discusses the sprint goals and whether they have achieved the sprint goal or not, or if any goals were not met, and the reason behind the shortfall. All these things will be analyzed in this review. And the product backlog adjustments. So based on the feedback and the insights that are gathered during the demo, the stakeholder can request changes or additions or prioritize certain items or certain features in the product backlog. So the product owner checks on the updates, or write down the updates that is needed to be changed in the backlog based on their inputs. Okay. Then the discussion and the feedback. The feedback is what we are looking for in sprint review. Feedback from everyone. So the stakeholder and the development team engage in a discussion about the product, about the work done, and any relevant feedback or they can give, or the interaction among the team members or among the stakeholders may gives rise to another feedback or another inference that that we can get. Okay, this person or this stakeholder likes this product or use of this product only, and this another stakeholder likes the use of that product only. So combining these two products, we can have a customer satisfaction. That is how stakeholder satisfaction. That is how you get an inference out of the feedback. So the interaction is vital here, and because of that interaction, we tend to get a collaboration and help us build in the product, a proper product, or the product which the customer would agree upon for accepting. Then the retrospective on the SR. SR means sprint review. The retrospective on the SR, in the sense there is another meeting of retrospective, but here what they are saying, what should be the discussion points in the retrospective meeting. Oh, so this should be included in the retrospective. or what the previous sprint review meeting has happened, and what kind of items were discussed in the previous sprint review. This kind of discussion will happen in here. And the effectiveness of the sprint review meeting. If there are certain things that needs to be changed in the sprint review, that will be discussed as a retrospective on the sprint review, and the potential improvements for future meetings. Oh, we want this thing to be discussed all the time, or we want this details or this data given in the sprint review. All this feedback will be given in the sprint review meeting as a retrospective to the SR. SR means sprint review. Okay, so can we move on to the next slide? Or do we need an example? Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is very informative slide. So this is the actual flow chart of sprint review, how it happens. So can anyone read the side note here?
Yes.
Yeah.
A sprint review meeting should be a natural result of the sprint involving the product owner, the Scrum team, the Scrum Master, management, customers, and the developers from other projects.
This is what we have already discussed. So all it is showing all the parties that are involved in the sprint review meeting. Now we want to discuss how the sprint review meeting actually happens. So it says here the sprint review meeting starts. Then the next step is welcoming the stakeholders. Usually what happens is that if the stakeholders includes the customers, there will be a welcoming note. Why this is included? Because if you join a bigger environment, a bigger company organization, everything tends to get formal. Everything there will be formal. There will be no informal meetings as such. So you have to find your own attire, you have to find agenda, or the specific standards of meeting will be there. So that's why a good flow chart of the sprint review meeting is always handy in such situations. So there will be official welcoming of the stakeholders, which is done by product owner. So this whole sprint review is run by the product owner. Remember, there might be a question: who runs the sprint review? Who drives the sprint review? The product owner. There might be certain situations when Scrum Master also drives the sprint review, but he is not supposed to. The person who is supposed to drive the sprint meeting is product owner. Then the next step would be to present the review agenda. The agenda will be presented first. So what are we going to do in the meeting? This will be presented to the people who have, or to all the stakeholders they have joined the meeting. Why I have put it here? Because usually in a big environment or in a big organization, everything has to be approved step by step from the manager. Without the approval, nothing moves on. So if there is no agenda, some of the whole meeting will not be approved. You will not be allowed to do the meeting. So certain standards will be there. I mean, I'm actually talking on my experiences. That's why I'm presenting it with you. But usually when there will be a sprint meeting, there has to be an agenda, and that has to be presented well before the meeting starts. Then the actual thing, step number 4 is present done products. Done products means the products which are the product increment which is produced from the sprint. So that will be presented if the product owner can present the product increment, he will. If he cannot, because there might be some technical discussions or technical capabilities discussed, so in that time the development team will present the done products or the product increment that needs to be discussed. Okay, so after the presentation of the actual products, immediately there will be a feedback about the product. Not after the meeting or after the, immediately after, there will be feedback, and that feedback will be written down by the product owner. Okay, so this feedback, and through that feedback, a product backlog item will be created for the next sprint. Then there will be step 6 will be presenting product backlog also. So what product backlog items are still pending, what product backlog items are done. The burn down chart will be presented here, and the product owner will do that. And what are you expecting in the next product backlog or next sprint, that will be discussed here. And again, once the product backlog is presented, all the items presented, again immediately they will take a feedback from each of the stakeholder, or supposedly from each of the stakeholder. Not every stakeholder will give feedback, but at least some of the stakeholder will give feedback, and that feedback will be written down or stored, and that can be useful in making the highest priority product items or backlog items in the next sprint. And then the meeting ends. So this is how the sprint review meeting will happen. Yes, Veena?
Sir, you said burn down chart.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please explain that, sir?
Oh, you don't know about, okay, sorry. So so this is how it happens. I assume that you already know burn down chart. So
Maybe I'm not aware, sir.
okay, I'm so sorry. So what happens is that there will be a burn down chart which has x-axis as a time. Let's say 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. That the time will be on the x-axis, and number of backlog items on the y-axis. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time goes, the burn down chart will have a curve which is coming down, because we are completing the backlog items. So
Okay,
what
got it.
items are remaining? You can see, okay, we are at the 10th month, and these many backlog items have been finished, and these many are remaining. You can see in a graph.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. So can you please draw and show it to us?
Okay, so this will be.
I think that will be helpful to all of us to understand.
Okay, actually, that's a project. Okay, I should not have mentioned the burn down chart, but anyway, I'm gonna show you because it's too advanced. 1 second. I don't know how to start this one.
Whiteboard.
Where it is? Whiteboard. Okay, yeah, got it.
You might have to end the screen share and then open the whiteboard.
Okay, that's why it is not coming up. Still, it is not there. Why it is not there? 1 second. Okay, I'm not able to get that turned on because I'm not used to it, but I can talk with you and make sure, or else I can do this thing. Okay, I will start sharing. I can do this thing. Okay, I will make it here itself. Okay, so this will be the y-axis. Can everyone see?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this will be x-axis. Thank you. And this will have, sorry. Wow, it's so difficult. Okay, so this will have, anyway, so this will have days here, duration, and this will have product backlog items. So firstly, and the burn down chart will look like this. Oh. Okay, sorry. This is so difficult. Okay, I never thought this will be. So it will look like this. So the burn down chart will look like this because as the day passes here, the number of items of backlogs are getting reduced. So this is the number of items getting reduced, and we are approaching the finished items. This is how usually the burn down chart requires. There is no need for showing the burn down chart, but it's a good visual representation for people who want to understand, who are used to having everything into graphical representation. There you would find in your corporate management, the people or some of the managers will always ask you about show the graph. Show me the graph. There will be pie charts. There will be bar charts. All sorts of charts they would want. So in that scenario, the burn down chart is very important. Got the things I want to, because I'm not able to clearly mention everything here. It's difficult for me. But
Yes, no problem. So
yeah,
then what is the burn up chart?
burn up chart is the other way around.
Okay.
So okay, let me show. Okay, you know about burn up charts. Okay, so it would be like this. Sorry. So it would be like this. This is the burn up chart. Sorry. Excuse the last one, which is going down. That is not the how the burn up chart is. The burn up chart shows how many items have been completed. So as the time goes, the completed items increases. That's it. It is so simple. Nothing else. Nothing difficult to understand. Okay. So let me go ahead. We have discussed this, and let me go ahead and talk about that. So now the question that someone was asking, what development team will do in the sprint review meeting? So there are a lot of things that development team will do. the discussion of the demonstration can extend. So these are not the items that has to be discussed, but these are kind of may happen or that can get extended in the discussion, can get extended towards this discussion. So explanation of completed work. So the during the sprint meeting, the development team obviously it plays a key role in showcasing the work that they have done or completed during the sprint. But here, the development team can present their work in the how they would present, how they will discuss with whole team is that is the way of explaining the completed work. They will say that we have completed the homepage design, or we have completed the product listing in the page, and as we have already planned. And would you like to see, or would you like to go a walkthrough showing all this completed work? This kind of scenarios will be discussed by the development team. If the customer wants for a showcase, they will show it. Then there will be challenges and obstacles. They can talk about challenges and obstacles, like say, they may say that, sir, while implementing, while doing this some feature, or let's say payment feature, we encountered this error, this maybe integration error or issue, and this issue is with the third-party payment gateway, and we have resolved most of them, but there might be a few edge cases, or there might be few issues that needs to be testing, and which will be testing in the next sprint. In that way, in this way, they can discuss again about the challenges and obstacles. Then the demonstration of new feature, they can demonstrate saying that, so in this sprint, we have added this new feature, new recommended products, and on the home page, or in the app, as was suggested by some of the stakeholders, and I will show you how it works, this kind of way. Then in the technical depth and refactoring. Now this is very important. So you need to know what is technical depth and what is refactoring, because in the interview question, they might ask you this question: who will present technical depth and refactoring? Or if there is technical glitch in the product, what would be your answer? What would be development team's answer? Because the Scrum Master will be there, and he would have witnessed the answers given by development team. So he should be able to answer that question. That is how they will catch the people who don't have an experience. So now, what is technical depth? So usually development team will explain all their work, and they may say that during this sprint, we focused on delivering this core functionality or this item, but we also identified some areas where there is a technical depth. What do you mean by technical depth? There is a lack of technical knowledge or lack of technical sufficiency. What do you mean by that again? So if there is a part of code which has not been developed as per standard, or as per moderate pointers, or usually this standard has to be seen every time, and that standard is not being seen, and there is a glitch over there. There is no standard maintained. So we can call it as a technical debt. It's a debt. So that debt needs to be filled up. And they have found out that they, afterwards, I mean, before that has been done, and then they have found out during testing, and now they cannot go back and change, but they will do change it in the next sprint. That is what they will say, and they will do refactoring in the next sprint. Now these are all terms of a development developer, the refactoring, the technical debt. So you need not know what it actually means, but it's a good way of knowing what refactoring means. So whenever there is a code written and that code needs an improvement, the code runs well and it gives the output how it should be given output, but the overall design is very cumbersome and it has not followed the standards, or it has too many redundant items and crowded things, or have certain items that are not necessary there, that needs to be changed, or the design needs to be made simpler. That is called as refactoring. Overall, refactoring means improving the design of the code without changing the code, how it behaves. So the code remains as it is, in the sense that it does not change its behavior, but still it will be tweaked, it will be cleaned, and there will be an improvement. That's why it is called as refactoring, and not the change of code itself. The change of code will change the code and its behavior also. But if we are cleaning the code without its changing its behavior, it is called as refactoring. Do you need to know all these things? No. So anyway, so even if that's actually a very technical term for the development team, but why interviewers will ask that? Because they want to know whether you have actually worked on it or not. So that's why we need to know here. Then the user acceptance criteria, whether the criteria is wrong or right, or the product increment has followed all the acceptance criteria, that will be showed by the development team. And the impact on future sprints. There might be certain features that, let's say, for example, development team might say, we have laid the foundation of the accounting system, some accounting system, which is very significant, and that might impact other functionalities, or that might improve other functionalities in the future sprint or in the future products that will be there. So that can be shown as impactful feature sprint. Then quality and testing. Again, this is very important. Whenever there is a word coming as quality, you have to be very careful, because the quality has to be achieved all the time. If we are not achieving the quality, then there is no use of doing this project or the Scrum. So here development team can say, for example, we conducted this testing, sir, and on different devices. We tested this in different devices and different browsers, and checked whether the website response, or whether its functionality is running smoothly or not. And we have also implemented unit testing to cover all the critical items. So this kind of thing, they can say that to the stakeholder, which ensures that there is a quality and which ensures that they have done testing. Then feedback on user stories. There will be user stories which have come up and which they have taken as a product backlog items, and they need, if the development team wants to give a suggestion to the stakeholders, because the stakeholders will give their teams, stakeholder and their teams will give user stories back. So they might want to have certain information in the user stories to be filled from now on, or for the next user stories. So they will say that in here in this sprint review meeting that they would want these included in the user stories. That is the feedback to give, which is given to the user stories to the stakeholders. And then there is unforeseen work. There might be certain, let's say the development team may ask that during the sprint we had addressed some urgent fixes, and we reported to the QA team. QA team means the quality assurance team, and these fixes have impacted the original sprint plan. So there might be change in plan of the sprint. So we will manage to handle them without compromising the overall progress. So what they are showing that they have done an extra work, which has to be, okay, somebody's asking. Okay, so they have to showcase any extra work that they have done, and they have not spent much time, or they haven't compromised on any progress. And then lastly, dependencies and collaboration. They will show what dependencies they have. They might have dependencies with financial teams or some stakeholders, and the collaboration they have gone through during the sprint. So this information is given by the development team in the sprint review to the customer or to the stakeholder. Everything is understood. This is too detailed. I just wanted to have this too detailed so that everyone can have a big picture in their mind. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. So this is the product owner giving the sprint review meeting. Here, actually, whole sprint review is done by the product owner because it's his cup of tea. And what he will discuss is the acceptance of the completed user stories. So you would say, I see that the team has worked on some feature of the user story. Can you demonstrate how it works? It can ask this question to the development team, and they have to show how it works. Then give the user feedbacks and insights. So he might say that, let's say we have gathered any feedback. Have you have any feedback from the users at that end on this feature? Show me what user feedback they have. That can be asked by the product owner. Then he can ask for overall progress towards the project goal, if the progress is actually happening towards the product goals or not. Then priority of unfinished work. So he may decide on what priorities has to be done. And okay, so he can ask for the priority of the unfinished work, and he will decide there itself because all the stakeholders are there. And he might ask, okay, which product or which unfinished work has to be prioritized in the next sprint, that he might ask. Then impact of changes to product backlog. Though if there are certain changes that can be taken over to the product backlog, what impact it would happen on other backlog items, that he will discuss. Then validation of assumption. Now this is very important. This item is a main job of product owner, because he has to validate if there are any assumptions taken by the team through, or he will validate the assumptions. There will be some assumptions coming out of during the sprint, saying that, okay, the stakeholder might want to have this assumption, and we will go assuming that he has done this assumption, and then we'll work on. So he will validate whether this assumption is true or not with the stakeholder in this meeting. This is a major work, and there might be some questions around this validation of assumptions. So whatever assumptions the development team is thinking of, they are actually true or not. That is what he will ask. Then market trends and competitor analysis. Obviously, you know what market trends are there. You would say that this product is new and this product is in demand and you should go with this and all that sort of stories. Then user experience and usability. What are the user experiences? Have you any user contacted you, and what changes needs to be done, and how their usability is affected? That kind of questions. And alignment with stakeholder expectations, whether this product increment or whether this increment is aligned with your expectations or not. That question he will ask. Then business value is delivered or not, the value out of this product or the increment is delivered to you or not, whether you agree with it or not. That can be informally asked from the customer by the product owner. Then feedback on user stories and requirement. Again, this is very important. He has to take feedback on the user stories and the requirements. So the feedback on the requirements is very important because it will affect the next sprint if there is some requirement missing out in the product backlog or the user stories. So the feedback has to be there. Then risk assessment and mitigation. If there are certain risks found out or expected, that how they needs to be handled and how they needs to be mitigated. Mitigated in the sense, mitigated is the word to have, which means that if the risk comes, then how you would handle or how would you plan to react to that risk. That is what mitigation means. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide, which is just the overview of the sprint review and what actually is output of the sprint review. So the output is done priorities, the done functionalities, which actually means whether the checking of everything has fallen into the accepted deliverables or not. That is what done functionality means. So deliverables which meet the user story acceptance criteria are accepted by the product owner. So whether they are fall into the accepted deliverables which follow the user story acceptance criteria are the part of done functionalities, and that will be an output from the sprint review, whether it is true or not. Then what is the objective of the sprint? That will be discussed also. The objective of the sprint is actually to create a potentially shippable deliverables for the product increment or which meets the acceptance criteria. And the acceptance criteria is defined by the customer and the product owner. So that update to those things or those acceptance criteria will come out of sprint review. These are considered accepted deliverables that may be released to the customer if they so desire. If there is a increment, that product increment or the output from the sprint which is liked by the customer and they want it to be released to them, so they can get that feature can get to the customer or released to the customer, and which features need to be released is the output from the sprint review. And then if a deliverable does not meet the defined acceptance criteria, there might be some deliverables which are not accepted during this in the accepted criteria, that is, or which is not accepted, or which can be termed as rejected deliverables. Those deliverables will be carried over to the subsequent sprint and with the rectified issues or what needs to be rectified information given. So that is also the output of the sprint review, and such rejected deliverables get added to the prioritized product backlog there. So not just the product backlog, they gets added to the prioritized product backlog. So in the very next sprint, it has to be included because it is rejected in the previous sprint. Okay. So it also updates the next sprint date to the stakeholders. So there might be holidays or there might be some issues. So the next sprint date, what it is, and that can be determined during the sprint review and can be updated to the stakeholders. So this is what the sprint review output looks like. Any questions about it? So we are out of time, but that's fine. We'll take some time. So I will take it as no. So let me just talk about quality, because the quality is very important. So can anyone tell me what is quality? What do you have in mind? No one? Okay, so let me tell you what is quality. Quality means customer satisfaction. That's it. If the product is not as per the customer satisfaction, there is no quality. If the customer doesn't want a shine on the product, and if your product is shiny, that doesn't mean it has a quality, because that is not what the customer wants. It may look like a good product for yourself, but that is not what customer wanted. So it doesn't have a quality in it. So that is the basic understanding of quality. If the customer saying that this product should be like this, whatever the criteria the customer has provided, that becomes the quality standard. Understood, everyone? So this is welcome to the project management or the world of corporate life. Here the quality is nothing but whatever the customer satisfaction is. Okay, so let me just okay, can someone read this out quickly? Whole slide. Let us finish it quickly.
Review with, can I read, sir?
Yes.
Sprint review with best quality. In Scrum, each sprint is required to deliver a potentially shippable product increment. This means that at the end of each sprint, the team has produced a coded, tested, and usable piece of software. During the sprint review, the project is assessed against the sprint goal determined during the sprint planning meeting. Ideally, the team has completed each product backlog item brought into the sprint, but it's more important that they achieve the overall goal of the sprint.
Okay, so obviously if there is no focused execution, as it says, focused execution, a clear definition of done. Excuse me. So what I was saying, so the each sprint required required to deliver a potentially shippable product increment. So this means that the team has produced a coded and tested and usable piece of software. Obviously, this is true, and the team has already coded and tested the software, which comes under the quality. So we are talking about the sprint review in the aspect of quality, how the quality can be achieved throughout the sprint review. And ideally, what it is saying is that the sprint goal, which is determined during the sprint planning meeting, has to be accessed or has to be compared to the project during this sprint review, so that the quality is being maintained. By doing so, we can get that, oh, this is not compulsion, this is not required actually, but in order to maintain the quality, you have to compare this sprint goal. Then it goes on saying that what should ideally happen. The team has completed each product backlog item brought into the sprint, but it is more important than what they achieved on the overall goal of the sprint. What it means is that if even if the one second, even if the process has been followed all along the sprint, and yes, who is there? Who is talking? Can you go on mute, please? Thank you. So even though the whole process of sprint has been followed properly, but you have to check a quality standard, whether the quality has been there or not, even though there is a product produced. How you can check it with the goal of the sprint. If the sprint goal has been achieved every time as per the standard, then there will be a quality maintained. Why? Because usually the sprint goal is changed according to the customer feedback or customer's requirement. So if the overall goal of the sprint is been achieved every time, then you can say that there is a quality in the produced product or produced increment. That is all it is saying, which is not that important, but the next slide is very important. I'm going to read this. So crossing the finish line and completing the work requires good planning, a clear definition of done, and focused execution. This is all is reflected in the sprint review. So obviously, if there is no focused execution, if there is no execution, planned execution or proper execution, and the clear way of depicting definition of done, which we will discuss in next session. Definition of done is very important. Why, in what criteria we will call any work to be done. This criteria should be very clear, transparent, so that everybody can follow the definition of done, and through which we can say that the quality is maintained. So this reflects into the sprint review, or that can be discussed in the sprint review, because it can become it will become a problem at the end of the sprint. That the issue will be discussed at the time of the sprint review, because we have not followed the clear definition of done, and we have not followed the focused execution. That's why the clear definition of done has to be there, the focused execution has to be there, and the customer satisfaction will be checked in this when we do the clear definition of done and focused execution, because all these things comes under quality. And as we know, the quality is nothing but customer satisfaction. Hence, the quality has to be maintained by focused execution. That is what it is saying. Whenever we are talking about quality, it may differ from organization to organization, because the standards of quality may change. There might be some standards some companies are following, some ISO standards that the company has to follow, some cultural standards that company has to follow. In that way, the quality has to be maintained. So this is not hard and fast, but it's good to know the quality standard ways to find out how it can be met. Now the second topic comes as the culture of delivery. So effective teams bring clear process and development culture to each and every work item. What it means is that there will be a culture to the way the developer do the work, obviously, because there might be previous items or previous situations or previous experiences of doing the work in certain way. So that has to be followed. So there will be some items, some ways of doing the work, which when there is a situation coming in my mind, there was a situation where people were using Microsoft 2007 for typing out or for creating documents, and they were supposed to we were not supposed to follow 2007 work standards, and we were trying to find out, are there other ways of products that we can use other than Microsoft 2007. But we came to know that there is a culture of using Microsoft 2007 only for presenting documents, because there is a clear standard or documentation that can be stored in the backlogs items. So those standards has to be followed. So the culture of delivery talks about those standards, the legendary standards that we are getting up. Then the last one is, are stories well defined by the product owner or not? Or the stories are well defined by designers and engineering team before the implementation? Obviously, this comes under quality, because even though they have completed the work and met the criteria of definition of done, is there a proper way followed to define such stories? That is an extra check that needs to be done in order to maintain a quality. If there is that standard, then we say that the product is having high quality. Whether they have followed the way they are supposed to follow is the check that you have to do. And lastly, the next slide says that, does everyone understand and live by the team's engineering values and culture? Obviously, if yes, this also gets reviewed in the quality purpose, because everyone understands the principles and values and the guidelines, or the engineering standards. All these things may also be asked and discussed during the sprint review, and according to that, a quality is marked. Then are there clear definitions and requirements around the code review, automated testing, continuous development, and to encourage sustainable agile development? So in order to have a sustainable, scalable agile development, scalable in the sense there can be more items added in future, that is called as scalable. So the product is scalable or not, which means there can be more items can be added. Is there a space for that item, for the next item to be added? So that is called a scalable product. So you can search it out in Google, then you can say that. So in order to have the sustainable and scalable agile development, whether the definition and the requirement are sufficient enough or not, that is discussed, that is taken into consideration. And this also is important because it needs to be checked for, because any stakeholder or any customer with keen eye will check on that, whether they have followed the principles or they understood the principle or not, or they have done a scalable development or not. A keen eye or a technical person will know about it. So they must follow all the standards to maintain the quality. So the third one is, after the team completes the story, are there many bugs that surface? In other words, does done really mean done? So is the done definition a perfect one? That is what it asks. Or are there any gaps remaining even after the criteria has been met? So the next sprint should get any improvements feedback. That is what it says. So if the done criteria is good enough or not. Then the last one is, the team's culture around quality and completion should rise above every user story, engineering work item, and bug. This culture is reflective of how the team approaches and delivers the software. So it is nothing but the team needs to learn from the previous mistakes. And now by default, they are starting with the improved work culture or not. That will be checked in the quality. That's it. So this is what quality standards and extra work needs to be done. Usually you will get to know once you are working into that field and what standard needs to be followed, everybody will keep on telling you that. So this last one is wrapping up the sprint review. It is nothing but once the sprint review is done, because the sprint review will have customer in it. So it's once the customer gives the green signal, then it's time to celebrate. So celebrate for the well done hard work and the customer satisfaction that has come through. Why we will do this? Because it motivates, brings interest in the work, becomes a culture of the work, and people will try to stick into it. And because the next sprint is just ahead, and they have to again jog down to start the fresh sprint. So that's why we will celebrate, take a break, enjoy, and come back energized for the next sprint. That's why we will celebrate at the end of sprint review. So I managed to complete all this session today, and we are on track. Still, next session we will discuss definition of done, which is very, very important. And if anyone has any questions, they can quickly ask, and then we should wrap up this session. Anyone has any question? There is a chat request. Okay. Okay, so I will take your silence as no. So this session is done today. And if there are any questions, they can ask, they can personally contact me and ask. And if there are no questions, then I will take this as done, and I will stop this session. So let me stop the recording.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so if there are any questions,